While some of us are getting ready, I'll make a couple announcements, which I was going to make later. After the service today, we're having a meeting of people who might be considering membership here. So if you join me about 10 minutes after the service ends, we'll meet in the little room at the other side of the other building and talk about the meaning of membership. And the signing in for new members will be next Sunday for those who want to do that. Also, I want to tell you that our neighbor, the Unity Church, in 2 weekends from now is holding, I think, what they're calling a circulation or recirculation Sunday. They're giving out clothing and food to people who need clothing and food. So I asked Roberta, who's heading up the project there, if she wants us to tell people we can bring clothing, we can bring canned food. So if you bring that next week, I'll get it to Unity. I'm not sure how or where you drop it off, but if you bring it here, the next day I'll take it. This is to be part of what they're doing to help people who need clothing and food. And one thing they want us to do is circulate it at La Jolla, where we help with bringing meals. We bring meals there once a month, but they serve 2 meals a day to people who are food insecure. So once we let those people know, I hope they'll pass the word, and we will help distribute clothing and food to people who need that. I think we're ready. All right. Then our worship associate today is not Judy, but Janet. You remember Janet.
Thanks. Good morning. Welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Stuart, Florida. Today's February 5th, 2023. My name is Janet Grote, and I'll be your worship associate today. Sorry, me again, but Judy Clough is sick. We are a welcoming congregation. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, ethnicities, ages, and backgrounds. It's wonderful to see all our vaccinated members here in the sanctuary. We are on YouTube too. Hi, YouTubers. To find out more information about us, go to our website, tcuuc.org. Note the email link to request our weekly Friday online newsletter. Please silence your cell phones. Visitors, if you are comfortable, please stand up to the microphone and introduce yourself. Do we have any comfortable visitors? Well, I see a few newer faces. We do welcome you. Join us the first and third Tuesdays at Stuart Veterans Memorial Park downtown at noon for our brown bag lunch. So join us this Tuesday. Understand we're going to be celebrating some birthdays, and Marguerite is going to do a birthday cake. The Adventure Club will go to McCarthy Ranch Preserve and Spruce Bluff Nature Preserve in Port St. Lucie on February 16th. Sign up in the greeting area. The book club, we are selling some of our books. They're in Heston Hall. And a big thanks for those who helped with the service today, Jackie Robbins and Judy Bajoris, for our music. Today, John Morn will be our song leader to liven up our hymns. In the future, we're going to try to have one of our choir members helping us along. And thanks to our greeters and ushers, and to our host, Karina Poloni, and our tech support, Rachel Valentino. Marguerite Gregory, our kitchen goddess, we're going to thank for the coffee and the cookies in our social hall. Rev Bob MacDonald is in the pulpit today. Here is our prelude.
Johann Sebastian Bach, Corrupt.
Wow, thank you, Jackie. Now we're going to do our chalice lighting. At this hour, in small towns and big cities, in single rooms and ornate sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalist congregations are also lighting a flaming chalice. As we light our chalice today, let us remember that we are part of a great community of faith. May this dancing flame inspire us to fill our lives with the Unitarian Universalist ideals of love, justice, and truth. Today, we share in a blessing for losers, risk takers, all failures far and wide. Blessed are they who fall in the mud, who are all wet, who jump with gusto and rip the pants, who skin the elbows and bruise the ego, for they shall know the sweetness of risk. Blessed are they who make great mistakes, whose intentions are good, but impact has injured, who knows the hot sense of regret and ask for mercy. For their hearts will know the gift of forgiveness. Blessed are they who try again, who dust off, who wash up, who extend the wish for peace, who return to the sites of failure, who are dodged in their pursuit, for they will discover the secret to dreams. Blessed are they who refuse to listen to naysayers, for their hearts will be houses of hope. Blessed are they who see beyond the surface of another, for they will be able to delight in the gift of compassion. Now stand if you would like to sing hymn number 360. Here we are gathered. We're going to do 3 verses, and John Morin is going to lead us.
Here we are gathered. that we can sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows, and regret, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who have been there know each other's pain. Kindness and heal us as we give and gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song.
Oh, thank you, our three musicians. Now it's time for our affirmation. Let us recite the first, and we're going to sing the second part. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
And now we're doing the responsive reading, number 660. We'll remain seated for this and read responsively. To Live Deliberately by Thoreau. Why should we live in such a hurry and waste of life? To be starved before we are hungry. I wish to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life. I wish to learn what life has to teach, and not, when I come to die, discover that I have not lived. I do not wish to live what is not life. Living is so dear. Nor do I wish to practice resignation unless it is quite necessary. I wish to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life. I want to cut a broad swath, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms. If it proves to be mean, then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world. Or if it is sublime, to know it by experience and to be able to give a true account of it. Thoreau. And now our time of sharing matters of joy or sorrow or concern. We invite you to come to the mic and let us know what would help us to know you better and be supportive of you. We ask that they be personal and that they be brief. Now, do any wish to come to the mic and share with us? Brenda.
Hi, I am new here. My name is Brenda, and my joy is that my sister in Maryland has joined us for the service, as well as my husband in New York. So I just wanted to share how joyful I am about that. Thank you.
What are you trying to tell me?
The river of life. This is representational.
Oh, yes. We're giving you a stone to add to our symbolic river. Brenda, may I tell you, is also from Troy, New York, and there are several people here with associations there. Have I mentioned mine? I think I probably have. Anyone else wish to come and tell us a matter of joy or concern or sorrow?
I'm Judy Bajoris, and my joy is that my brother is coming to see us this week. He lives in Texas, and he has driven to the panhandle of Florida to visit his great-grandchildren there, and he's so happy. He's 86 years old, and he's going to be driving here. He's a good driver. He and I drove together out to Utah, so not too long ago. So anyway, please, your thoughts with him.
Good, good. Jill.
Oh, my name is Jill, and my joy is to be here in Florida and to be at this service today and to have some time to spend with my sister, Judy, who's just coming in. So.
That's an entrance.
It's great to hear how siblings can get along, even better than get along. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Linda Shuey, and my joy is that my granddaughter, who has been sick for several years, she had cancer, she had a brain tumor when she was 3, has just come back from Atlanta, and there is a program, finally, for the survivors of pediatric cancer and chemo and all the other things she has. And what's interesting is Dan and I went to Congress in 2016, and at that point in time, there were only, I think, 5 Democrats voting for our bill, and it has finally passed, and there was finally only 7 years later, so that's really fast moving for Congress. There is a program for childhood cancer survivors. Thank you.
Good. Jackie, were you coming up?
My name is Jackie, and my sort of sorrow is that Gail McCarthy is still feeling young at heart, and in her brain she's still active and alive, and I'm having to use the word palliative now because although people can't believe she's still alive in the hospital, hopefully they will be able to move her at some point back to where she'll have to move into the palliative care arena. And I've been there for many hours, many days, and I'm getting great feedback from the staff, and from Gail. Thank you.
Anyone else? Then we always move a stone for those that we haven't said out loud, but most of us have people we worry about and care about, and this is for those concerns. My meditation is this from the back of the hymnal by A. Power Davies, Strange and Foolish Walls. The years of all of us are short, our lives precarious. Our days and nights go hurrying on, and there is scarcely time to do the little that we might. Yet we find time for bitterness, for petty treason and evasion. What can we do to stretch our hearts enough to lose their littleness? Here we are, all of us, all upon this planet, bound together in a common destiny, living our lives between the briefness of the daylight and the dark. Kindred in this, each lighted by the same precarious, flickering flame of life. How does it happen that we are not kindred in all things else? How strange and foolish are these walls of separation that divide us. A. Powell Davies. And now moments of silence. And now, Spirit of Life 123. We will remain seated. We will hum the verse and then sing the verse. Spirit of Life. We hope that all who come here will experience generosity and joy. And we invite your generosity so we may continue trying to offer that the best we can. The ushers will bring a plate to visit you now. And now, a video.
Hang on, it's coming. I'll translate. From English to English.
Just wait.
It's on its way. No hearing aids.
Instructions from the closet. Be patient. Well, I've told you something you can do, and that is clean out your closets this week. Bring it here next week, and it'll get to people who need it the following week at the Unity Church. Sermon today, the beauty of the world I can't believe I got to see. This is a requested sermon. I must have said too much about the phenomenal sights of our recent trip to the Middle East. So someone asked, show us, gladly. That someone is home recovering, so you know who you are. The next sermon or two will also be responding to requests or suggestions. When I invited your ideas for sermons recently in my coffee jar, more than one of you said, help us with spirituality. What is it? How do we cultivate it? I've quoted the great philosopher Whitehead, who defined religion as what we do in our solitariness. The pandemic gave us all a bout of solitariness as well as illness and death. During my year on Zoom here, during the pandemic, I got to see almost no one except the musician in the service and a number of you on Zoom. I actually had a congregation, though, that visited me twice daily at home, a fairly large number of ducks. They came by at 7:30 in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon, and I visited them with squirrel food from Walmart. They didn't know it was squirrel food. We had this little dance we did together. I moved toward them slowly. They backed away, watching me. I put the food down, I backed away, and they slowly waddled back to the food. They were my support during Zoom, and they did more for me than I did for them. Before my picture sermon of awe before some of the world's wonders, two quotes. Mark Twain wrote in Innocents Abroad, "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime." Now, Twain wrote an autobiography which he mandated not to be published until after his death. I think it was supposed to be a century after his death. When it came out, many thought they knew why. The man was known for humor, good humor, great humor, but he wasn't kidding about Americans' attachment to their money. Now, maybe that's another sermon. Things we'd like to say or feel deeply, but we better wait until we're gone. Let's think on that. My second preface quote is a recent New York Times op-ed by Margaret Renkl, R-E-N-K-L. It was titled like this: "The camera is turned the wrong way." Her point was that people are standing before some of the great beauties of the world and are taking selfies which make themselves the center of the picture, when they should just be taking in the beautiful world or standing in awe and quiet. Many people have lost their lives standing too close to an edge to get the perfect picture, their last picture show. Rankel's point was, we all lose when the world is not the center of the world. All right, for now, some of the world we have been privileged to see. My recent trip began in Amman, Jordan. The attractions there, Petra. You've seen pictures of Petra. I got to see it close. No. Our tech help has a bit of imp in her. A Red Rock Kingdom going back 2,500 years. It was the capital of the Nabateans, an ancient Arab tribe. You walk down a cavern of this red rock of carvings and get to this iconic structure called the Treasury. There are golf cart buggies, donkey-drawn carts, and camels to carry you back and forth to this structure. Now, the three of us in our little group that went, a friend from our community, we said, oh no, we can walk this. So we walked down, but we're glad to pay a kid who had a horse on a carriage. It was a pretty bumpy ride, but we were glad to get back that way. Petra. Next, Luxor, southern Egypt, is called the Valley of the Kings or Pharaohs, full of tombs and these monuments to ancient history. And all the while we're walking through them, they're playing through a loudspeaker a deep bass voice of, I guess, famous people or famous commenters on the ancient pharaohs of old. I mentioned to you that one was reported to have 100 wives who gave him 100 daughters and 100 sons, and he married 100 daughters, so he had 200 wives. Many of us are challenged enough by one mate, but we don't know what those pharaohs were thinking, if they were thinking. But Luxor had these and were beautiful to behold, and we're glad we got to see them. The end of that trip to the Middle East was Dubai. Now, Dubai is the capital of the Emirate of Dubai, and the Emirate of Dubai is one of 7 in the UAE, United Arab Emirates. It's known for these buildings. I mean, there were many more, but these I could find good pictures of, I thought. The one on the bottom right is an apartment building. Would you say that's interesting? Yeah, I would say it's different. A lot of the buildings are different. The one on the top right is the tallest building in the world. Let's see, it's called the Burj Khalifa. It looks like a Christmas tree, doesn't it? It's a half-mile high, and many of our group went up to the top. I did not. A thing called high anxiety. It is real. But anyway, it was interesting to see from the base a half-mile high building, Dubai. Then I've just put together some shots of other places I can't believe I got to see. And the pictures aren't the best, but they're what we took. This is Machu Picchu. No, Machu Picchu is right, Peru. It's this empire, Inca, in this high place. I couldn't get those tourists to step aside. Sorry about that. But in the upper right, the guide went on about the engineering that was required to get these buildings the way they are. And can you imagine the manpower or person power required to get those rocks in that mountainous place? But fortunately, the conquistadors didn't find that. So we still have that because they demolished a lot that they found. It's just a stunning place. And in that picture on the bottom right, you can't see so well, but there are tiers where you can just walk and sit and look out. And it's an incredible experience. The ride up it in a bus, making U-turns all the way, is kind of a religious experience where even if you're you might say, oh God, the whole way up. But we were really glad to be there. And at the end of it, we discovered something called pisco sour. I won't go into that. It's maybe not one of the wonders of the world, but it was settling after this experience. Now, after Machu Picchu, I think I put Ephesus, Turkey. I'm just kind of wandering the world, not in any kind of order. But Ephesus is a Roman ruin, Asia Minor. The ancient name is Ephesus. It's the port of Kusadasi, I believe it's called. And that mainly is what's called the library, one of the ancient libraries of the ancient world, to be redundant. And then a bit of an amphitheater there. But it was just something to walk and behold and take in. Ephesus, Turkey. It's quite a Roman ruin. Now we're traveling to Cambodia, Vietnam, a Mekong cruise. Oh, this is all in Cambodia. On the left, you see all these great Buddhas that were all around. And I'm not showing you any in the temples. Now, the temple on the right, I'm not sure if that's Angkor Wat. That was one of our main stops, but I couldn't find the best picture of it I wanted. And in many of the stops, you see these little critters down below, resident monkeys, and they're just there. Now, at a number of Buddhist temples that had huge numbers of men in those, what I thought were monk garb, I said, yeah, these are some others. I think that may be Angkor Wat, but not the best picture. There are a couple of a jungle temple coming, but they're quite interesting. But anyway, I said to the guide that all these monks go to some kind of seminary training. And he said, no. Many men in the latter part of their lives don these outfits and become servants at the temple, in part to atone for their urges as young men. Now, I didn't ask, and what urges would those be? But I did think that maybe more than one religion, the one I know best, has more trouble dealing with the gifts of nature, which of course include sexuality, not to be atoned for. But anyhow, there were these fabulous temples in Cambodia, and we stopped at many and just roamed and took them in. I think there may be one more. Is there another one? Yeah, there's the jungle temple. That's a tree, of course, growing out of that temple, and there are many with trees in and among and growing out. And they were just something to take in. I didn't try any selfies. This may have been before the age of selfies. I don't know. But anyhow, they were just something to behold, as were most of the stops that I'm showing you today. In Vietnam, I'm not showing you Vietnam, but it was attached to this. And we went to the Ho Chi Minh Memorial, and a number of us went to the guide and said, you know, no disrespect intended, but we really don't need to go past Ho Chi Minh's casket, which of course is encased in glass. And he said, well, I will get you through quickly, but yes, you do have to. Everybody who comes here has to. So, all right, we got in line, and it was fairly painless in terms of a long line going through. But one of the things I wanted to mention, and I may have mentioned before, in Vietnam, which is a country of almost all young people, I was really surprised about that. But on the bus, the guide said, I want to tell you about the British Museum's list of the 10 greatest generals of all time. Oh, okay. So here we are on the bus in Vietnam, and the guide, who is Vietnamese, wants to tell us about that list. He says, first of all, can you name the only American on that list? And everybody tried. George Washington, General Eisenhower. No. I think Robert E. Lee was on it. I think he was the American general. The reason he brought this all up is because there were 2 Vietnamese generals on this list of the British Museum. The first one we had heard of, General Giap. You've heard of him too. Well, you maybe didn't know, he just died a few years ago, at 100+ years. General Giap, who was proud of defeating the French at Dien Bien Phu, and he was proud of the Americans leaving when they left, General Giap. So the Vietnamese were proud of having 2 on the list, and the Americans 1, and presumably not picking the list or packing the list in the British Museum. I don't know where that list came from, but I took that guide's word for it. Next, we go to China on the wall, and you see, put that tourist away. This is a picture I got from the internet because I couldn't get one of our pictures good enough. But the wall was really something to get up on and to walk a little bit or a lot. We just walked a little bit. And in reading about the wall, I read that it really wasn't effective at keeping people from invading because it wasn't hard to get over that wall. But they said, whoever wrote this up said, the wall made for great political propaganda. Can you imagine anyone using a wall for political propaganda? Not me, but anyway, the wall is really something to see. And these terracotta soldiers you've seen, they were something when you see 1,000 of them in the ground with horses. It's mainly men like this and some horses in the ground, just really something to see. They sold little souvenirs of these guys for $2, and we brought a box home, and then we thought, that really was foresightful. That would have made a good gift, and who would have known we only paid? Well, anyway, terracotta soldiers are really something to see in China. We got to Beijing and Shanghai, but not pictures that I thought had me standing in awe. Crossing the street was often a religious experience, like going up Machu Picchu in the bus. But these were the awesome sights I brought back. Now Australia, I think, is next. No, that's okay. We'll stay there. This is Japan. This is the Peace Park in Nagasaki. Look at that interesting statue in the upper left. They had several like that, but this was the one that was most easy to make out what they're showing. Peace Park, people joining hands. You could say a couple walking. You could say the world joining hands. And on the bottom left, I couldn't get a picture good enough to show you what it was. But it's 4 figures, is again part of a peace sculpture. I couldn't quite get that. Okay, are we in Hiroshima next? Yeah, good. Thanks, Karina. A friend of mine, a Japanese Methodist minister in New York, wrote a book called 1,000 Paper Cranes. And this figure of a child in Hiroshima's, is it Hiroshima or Hiroshima? You know where I mean. It is a child memorial to this girl. The girl's name, if I can find it, is Sadako Sasaki. She died at age 10 from atomic nuclear poisoning, as many did, 10 years after the drop. And she had the belief, and many had the belief, that paper cranes brought about peace and health. So she got people into making paper cranes. And the child figure at the top is a child like her, a child for her, showing paper cranes. I wanted to see this close up. Our stop didn't go there, but Lori and I got a bus to an underground mall and walked through the mall to get to this park. I felt quite good that we were able to get there, and I wanted to go home and tell my colleague that we appreciated seeing what he had inspired us to take in, the Hiroshima Peace Park with this child and the paper cranes. All right, what's next? Let's see. Well, you know, Australia, New Zealand, that's of course the Sydney Opera House. Uluru is this sandstone mound in the middle of the country. And what all the tour groups do is set up a table. It's happy hour table, but I don't need to tell you that. And you stand and watch this as dusk sets, and the thing starts out the color at the bottom, Uluru, and changes color as the darkness fades, or darkness descends. It's really a beautiful thing. It's a religious significance for the Aborigines who live in the area, and tourists are asked not to climb it. We walk around the base of it where there are carvings and pictures, ancient of course, but it's really a beautiful sight to take in. And no, I didn't attempt to scale it, but I guess many do, and we're all warned not to because it's kind of an insult to the local people. Now, to go on in Australia, these are some of the residents we got close to. The koalas we got to hold and pet. I don't know what that poor thing was feeling, but everybody in the group got next to the keeper, actually, who was holding it, and we got to pet it for a picture. And we got to feed, that's the person feeding that guy. And the upper right is somebody from a Long Island congregation of mine that went along with us. And then these little critters, you know what they are on the upper left. We saw a lot of them. The Sydney Zoo was one of the very pleasant stops to take in these denizens. What's next, Karina? Yeah, this is New Zealand. I just wanted to mention that ice rink on the top, of course, was taken from a plane. It made for a beautiful sight, I thought. On the bottom right, we watched this sheep farmer and his assistant, that critter to his right, a sheep herding dog. We watched that dog bring these sheep, there are a lot more than you can see, over that mound in the back and circle the sheep to keep them in the direction the dog wanted them to go in. And finally, they all appeared here for our picture moment. But maybe some of you have seen this in other places, but a sheep herding dog is quite a sight and gives sheep, I guess, the reputation they have. But he had those under paw or in paw, whatever you want to say. It was something to see. Okay, where are we next? Ah, the Colosseum, Rome's glory and gory, but it's quite a sight. You've probably seen better pictures of the Colosseum. I couldn't get a really good outside shot, but what is that on the bottom right? Is that, what is that fountain called? Trevi? Trevi, yeah. Oh, I forgot, I have a travel agent here. You come back to the mic, John. No, anyway, you've probably been there. We've been there a few times. The Colosseum was such a beautiful thing to take in. Some inner imp in me wanted to call my Latin teacher and tell him, "Frater, I got here." He called us all frater. Okay, what's next? Okay, next is Paris. You know the tower. This is a sideline. I got in line. I treated my wife to a dinner at one of those levels before I asked to see the menu, to see the price. And it turned out to be a very memorable dinner. Not for one I remember it for, but it was really a wonderful experience of looking out. And just a little bit of trivia, there was this couple from Perth, Australia sitting next to us, and a couple of guys from Manhattan sitting next to them. So the lovely couple from Perth turned to us and turned to them and said, "Have you all ever heard of Perth?" And you said, "Yes, we have." And then the guys next to them said to them, "Have you ever heard of Manhattan?" They're just a little fun that we all had together during that meal. Now, in the Louvre, the bottom left is the entrance. And we discovered, after several attempts, if you arrive at 6:30 at night, there's no crowd. You get in for free, and they give you a map to the 3 most prominent tourist sites. So the bottom right, of course, you know, Her Ladyship Mona Lisa. And the top, is that Venus de Milo? I think it is. And I feel like a certain Republican candidate. There was a third one, but I can't remember it. But we did discover you can get to these quickly. And we were glad to find that thing out about 6:30, no line, and the map to the 3 best sites. The Louvre, like many, of course, you can just spend an awful lot of days there, and we hope to get there again. We've been there a couple times. What's next? Well, the Acropolis in Athens. I'm sure a number of you have been there. It's really something to just take in and to think. God, Plato and Socrates were there, and the glory that was Greece. It's just really beautiful archaeology, beautiful testaments to the past. The Acropolis, Parthenon. Now, these are the Roman ruins of Arles, southern France. This was on a trip to Avignon, and this was in a way to me the most memorable part, to walk around these Roman ruins and see what spread out through the Roman Empire, for good or for ill. This is what it remains, and it's wonderful architecture. Have any of you ever been to the Segovia aqueduct? It's something also. We got there in the rain, but it was still worth getting there. This is Arles, France. And what's next? I had to throw in national parks. You know Old Faithful. You know the Grand Canyon. I had so many pictures of these, I can't exactly tell you what they are. But I know Zion and Bryce and the Grand Canyon made the deepest impression. They're just beautiful, beautiful to look at. There are more. The one on the upper left, that's Mesa Verde in Colorado. And the bottom, what is the bottom left, John? Can you recognize that? Is that anybody else? I know some of you have been there not long ago. But we spent our time mainly in those that I just mentioned, and they're just gorgeous. Arches? Yeah, it could be. I don't know if the bottom right is Tetons or where, but it's like one of those. What's that?
Looks like the Grand Teton.
Grand Teton. Thank you, Madame. Madame Jacqueline.
So it's named that. Over one ridge, they saw this, the Grand Teton.
We won't go further into that. Let's go on. I forgot now. Oh, I wanted to stop with the beauty that is Florida. I mean, there's so much beauty in Florida. I fell in love with these sunrises and sunsets, and I have a lot of them, but I reduced it to 4. And when I was serving in Connecticut and vacationing in our home for retirement on Hutchinson Island, I took many of these and somehow worked them into sermons in Bristol, Connecticut. And the folks, good folks there, came to me afterwards and said, Reverend, we like your slides, but you know the sun does rise and set in Connecticut also. Point taken, yes it does, and I saw many beautiful ones there too. But I went a little bit crazy with the sunrises and the sunsets here. And there's so much beauty. If you had to name the one beauty you recall in Florida, what would it be? Other than TCUUC, what would it be?
Bird Island.
What?
Bird Island.
Okay. What else? Have you seen turtles laying their eggs on the shore? That's quite a sight of nature. Anybody else have a nomination? Huh? Everglades, sure. Well, there are a lot of nominations because there's a lot of beauty in this retirement area for us. Well, these have been our beauties to share, and all I can say is I would sing it if I could. What would I sing if I could, Jackie? What a wonderful world, right?
What's a wonderful world. Yeah.
Jackie plays it often. If we look for beauty, we find it. If we look for enemies in the world, we find them. Mostly we find people living their lives like us, much more like us than not. And that's a good reason for traveling. Would you put the lights back on, Ronnie? Sure. Our closing hymn is 159, 2 verses. This is my song. $159, if able, if willing, let's stand. Let's just start singing. We know this one. No, that's the first hymn. No, that's the first hymn. No. That is the first hymn. No, This Is My Song is the Finlandia tune.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace to lands afar and wide. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. What other worlds in other lands are meeting?
Please be seated. Before the closing words, again, I want to thank Corina for doing a lot of work on this sermon. And I want to remind you, if you're thinking about membership in our church, we're going to have a meeting afterwards in the room in the back. Now, as we extinguish the chalice, these words by that well-known author, Anonymous. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Don't be in any hurry to leave. Look outside. Don't rush away.